I was on my way to my son's will reading when a neighbor ran up and yelled, "Don't start your car." He revealed a horrifying truth about my daughter-in-law. His words sent a chill through me. When I finally arrived at the reading, she fainted at the sight of me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments what time it is where you are right now. Seth, don't start the engine. My hand froze on the car door. Garrett's voice cut through the calm morning air. I turned to see my neighbor sprinting across his perfect lawn, still in his bathrobe, his face etched with panic. I had been adjusting my black tie in the rearview mirror, mentally preparing for the reading of Martin's will. The formal suit felt heavy on my shoulders. "What's wrong, Garrett?" I stepped back from the sedan, my keys trembling slightly. He reached my driveway, out of breath. "Last night at 11:30, I saw Helen by your car. She had tools, and was working under the hood for a full 15 minutes. His retired police officer instincts were on high alert. When she noticed me watching from my window, she slammed the hood shut and ran. The garage suddenly felt colder. Helen, my daughter-in-law, the woman set to inherit $40 million today if her plan succeeded. I looked at my sedan, the car I'd driven reliably for 8 years. "You're sure it was Helen?" "Absolutely. She parked her BMW on the street, not in your driveway. It was deliberate." Garrett's eyes narrowed. "Seth, I know when something's wrong. Don't drive that car until it's inspected." I walked around the vehicle slowly. No obvious scratches, but Helen wasn't stupid. She'd been married to my brilliant son long enough to learn about precision. The morning sun streamed into the garage, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny witnesses. Birds chirped in the trees, oblivious to the deadly situation. My engineering mind calculated the possibilities. Brake lines, steering, engine sabotage. Any could cause a fatal accident on the highway to Chicago, an accident that would make Helen the sole beneficiary. "Thank you, Garrett. You may have saved my life." He nodded grimly. "What will you do?" I pulled out my phone with steady hands, scrolling to Tom Riley's number. If anyone could find evidence, it was him. 20 years of experience and an eye for detail. "I'm calling my mechanic for a professional inspection." I met Garrett's gaze. If Helen thinks she can remove the only person standing in her way, she's about to learn how wrong she is. The phone felt warm as I dialed. Whatever she had done, I would find proof and ensure justice was served, for my safety, and for my son's memory. Tom answered on the second ring. "Riley's garage," Tom speaking. "Tom, it's Seth Jordan. I need you at my house now. I believe my car has been sabotaged." A pause. "That's serious, Seth. Don't touch anything. I'll be there in 15 minutes with my full kit." I hung up and paced the garage, my shoes clicking on the concrete. 15 minutes to wait. 15 minutes to study every inch of the car without disturbing evidence. It sat innocently in the dim light, its blue paint gleaming. How many times had I done maintenance right here? Changed oil, rotated tires. Now it might hold something meant to kill me. Helen's face flashed in my memory. Her perfect makeup at the funeral, tears that seemed more performance than grief. She'd inherited my son's charm, but not his integrity. $40 million was a powerful motive. The sound of a diesel engine interrupted my thoughts. Tom's service van, with Riley's automotive, honest work, fair prices on the side, parked behind my car. Tom emerged with a large toolbox, his Irish accent thick with concern. "Right, Seth? Tell me everything while I set up." "My neighbor saw my daughter-in-law tampering with this car last night. She's the main beneficiary of a huge inheritance, and I'm the only one left in her path." Tom's expression darkened as he activated the hydraulic lift in my garage. "Money makes people do terrible things. Let's see what we have." The car rose slowly, revealing its underside. Tom took a powerful flashlight and began his examination. "Someone's been here all right," he said, his voice professional. "These cuts on the brake lines are clean and precise, not from road damage." I leaned closer. "How can you be sure?" 20 years in this business, Seth. Natural wear causes fraying. This is deliberate. Surgical cuts meant to fail slowly." He traced the damaged lines carefully. "Whoever did this knows what they're doing. The cuts would cause complete brake failure after several miles." My blood ran cold. Several miles would put me on the expressway at 70 miles per hour. No brakes at that speed meant certain death. Professional work then? Absolutely. And there's more. Tom moved to the steering, loosened tie rod ends. Your steering would have become unstable as you drove. The plan became terrifyingly clear. Helen didn't just want me dead. She wanted it to look like an accident. I pulled out my phone to call a taxi. Tom, document everything with photos. I need this evidence to get to the police. I have a will reading to attend. Helen expects me to die on the way. Instead, I'll watch her face when I walk in. The taxi arrived as Tom finished photographing everything. I got in the back seat, my suit now feeling like armor. Downtown law firm on LaSalle Street, I told the driver. Important meeting. He glanced at me in the mirror as we left my neighborhood. As we moved from quiet streets to busy roads, I processed the full scope of Helen's plan. She'd calculated everything. The timing, the method, the accident. $40 million meant freedom from financial worry forever. Martin had built his cybersecurity company from nothing, creating software that protected major corporations. In 5 years, he went from struggling entrepreneur to multimillionaire. The irony was clear. Martin protected others from digital threats, but never saw the danger in his own wife. Traffic thickened as we neared the Chicago Loop. Glass towers reflected the sun. Helen would be in that conference room, checking her watch, wondering why I hadn't crashed. She'd underestimated neighborhood friendship. Garrett's vigilance saved my life and exposed her. Now, instead of inheriting everything, she would face justice. The taxi turned onto LaSalle Street toward the law firm. Through the windows, I saw other well-dressed people entering. Martin had been different, even wealthy. He stayed grounded, visiting often, sharing his excitement about new projects. Helen never understood that drive. She saw only the money, expensive restaurants, luxury trips, designer clothes. When Martin got sick, her concern was an act. "Here we are, sir. That'll be $43. I handed him $50 and stepped onto the sidewalk, looking up at the building. Helen was inside, confident in her scheme. She was about to learn that Seth Jordan wasn't so easily removed. Walking through the door, I felt my son's presence like a hand on my shoulder. Today, justice would prevail. Today, Martin's legacy would be protected from the woman who betrayed him and threatened me. The elevator doors opened like gates to a battlefield. The elevator took me to the 47th floor. Reynolds, Mitchell and Associates had panoramic views of the lake, marble floors, and expensive furniture. Helen sat in a burgundy chair near reception, flipping through a luxury magazine. She wore a black designer dress, her hair perfect. She looked up, and the color drained from her face. The magazine slipped from her hands. "Hello, Helen," I said, my voice calm. Surprised to see me alive, her mouth opened and closed before she spoke. "Seth, I thought you weren't coming." "Really? Why would you think that?" "Maybe because of what you were doing at my car last night around 11:30. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said too quickly. "Garrett saw everything, Helen. The tools, the time under my hood, how you ran when you saw him." She stood, trying to use her height. "That's ridiculous. Why would I?" "The same reason you killed my son." The accusation hung in the air. Helen's mask slipped, revealing something cold beneath. Other people, in the reception area, provided background noise. "You're distraught," Helen said, recovering. "Grief makes people imagine things. Can it cut brake lines? Can it loosen steering components overnight?" Her jaw tightened. "I have no idea what you mean. I'm stating facts documented by a professional mechanic." Helen's eyes darted toward the conference room. "Your problem, Seth, is you never accepted that Martin chose me. He loved me, not you. He warned me about you. He was delirious from medication." The receptionist glanced over. Helen forced a smile, playing the grieving widow, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. Helen moved toward the windows overlooking the lake, positioning herself in the light. "You know what, Seth? None of this matters. Martin left me everything. $40 million, every penny. And you get nothing. We'll see. I've already seen. I was his wife. I took care of him." "Yes, you took care of him very thoroughly." The insult didn't faze her. "I have the best lawyers. You can contest all you want, but spousal rights are absolute here. She gestured toward the lake. See that penthouse? I've already put a deposit on it. The casual mention struck me. Martin wasn't buried 3 weeks, and she was shopping for luxury real estate. $40 million buys freedom, she continued. Travel, shopping, fine dining. I'll finally live the life I deserve. Her words showed her callousness. No grief, just greed. Martin worked 18-hour days building that company, I said quietly. He protected millions. That money represents years of hard work, and now it's mine, she said with satisfaction. You always thought I wasn't good enough. Well, I win. Other clients began to notice. You have no idea what Martin was really worth, I said. $40 million. I know exactly. Money doesn't equal truth. Helen laughed. Truth doesn't pay for penthouses. Money does, and in 10 minutes I'll have all I need. She moved closer, whispering, Martin never loved you as much as you think. He said you were a bitter old man. The lie was meant to hurt, but it only strengthened my resolve. Mrs. Jordan, Mr. Jordan, the receptionist said. Mr. Reynolds is ready for you. Helen straightened her dress and checked her reflection. Time for the main event. She walked to the conference room with confidence. I followed steadily. She thought she was walking to wealth. She was walking to her downfall. Mrs. Jordan, Mr. Jordan, the receptionist gestured to a mahogany door. Please follow me. Edward Reynolds' office had a stunning lake view. Legal books lined the walls, and his desk held substantial documents. He stood as we entered. Please sit. Edward's voice was measured. Before we begin, I must verify identities and review protocol. Helen took the chair facing the window. I sat across, noting she had her phone ready to document her win. The last will and testament of Martin Jordan, executed and notarized on April 1, 2025. Edward began, opening a folder. All legal requirements are satisfied. April 1, 2 weeks before Martin's death. He'd been weak but mentally sharp. Martin was very specific about his intentions. Edward continued. He wanted to ensure his father's welfare above all else. Helen's smile held. She assumed this meant a provision for me, while she got the bulk. I quote, I leave my entire estate, valued at approximately $40 million, including all assets, properties, investments, and business holdings, to my father, Seth Jordan, in recognition of his lifelong guidance and support. The words hit Helen physically. Her face went white, and she gripped the table. What? That's impossible, Edward continued professionally. Furthermore, Martin included a personal addendum for you, Seth. He handed me a sealed envelope. In Martin's handwriting, Dad, be careful with Helen. I believe she may try to harm you to claim the inheritance. Break, breath. Trust your instincts about her true nature. The letter trembled in my hands. He'd known. Despite everything, he'd seen through her and protected me. Helen stared at the documents. This can't be legal. I am his wife. Spousal rights are superseded by a properly executed will, Edward said calmly. Illinois law permits testators to distribute their estate as they wish. But $40 million, Helen's voice cracked, goes entirely to Mr. Seth Jordan, as specified throughout the document. I watched her world collapse. All her scheming, her calculated kindness, her murder plans, all meaningless because of my son's foresight and love. Helen's shock turned to rage. She shot up, her chair clattering to the floor. This is impossible. The will is forged. I'll prove it. Edward remained seated. The document was notarized and witnessed by 3 independent parties. I don't care. Helen lunged across the table, clawing for the papers. Edward moved them out of reach. Mrs. Jordan, please compose yourself. These are copies. The originals are secured. Her facade shattered. Gone was the widow. What remained was desperate. I'll contest this. You'll never see a penny. She turned to me, eyes blazing. I spent 3 years married to your son. I earned that inheritance. Earned it? I stood, my voice quiet. By poisoning him. The accusation hung. Helen's face went white, then red. You can't prove anything. Martin was sick. Healthy men don't die in 3 weeks from unknown causes. But you knew that, didn't you? You knew what you were giving him. Helen grabbed a document and tried to tear it, but the heavy paper resisted. "This changes nothing," Edward said, reaching for his phone. "As I said, these are copies. I want the originals," Helen screamed, throwing the pieces at my feet. "I want every copy destroyed." "Security? This is Edward Reynolds. I need assistance." Helen spun toward the door, then back. "Trapped. You think you've won?" She pointed at me. "I'll fight this in court for years." "Run, Helen. Justice will catch up." Two security guards appeared. Edward gestured. "Please escort Miss Jordan from the building. She is no longer welcome." As they approached, Helen made a final grab for Edward's briefcase but stumbled, her dignity gone. "This isn't over," she screamed as they guided her out. "I'll destroy all of you." Her protests echoed down the hall. The room fell silent. Edward straightened his tie and gathered the fragments. "Well," he said with understatement, "that could have gone more smoothly." I sank into my chair, processing it all. My son had protected me from beyond the grave. Helen's true nature was exposed. The war wasn't over, but the first battle was won. Edward closed the door, professionalism returning. "I apologize for that outburst. In 30 years I've rarely seen such a reaction." She expected $40 million. That's a powerful motivator for delusion. My phone buzzed. Tom Riley's name appeared. I remembered his promise to finish his inspection. "Tom, what did you find?" "Seth, you need to hear this. This wasn't just sabotage. It was attempted murder with professional execution." Edward looked up, hearing both sides. "Explain what you discovered." "Your brake lines were cut with surgical precision, not amateur work. The cuts were placed to cause complete failure after about 10 miles of highway driving. 10 miles, the exact distance to the expressway entrance, where I'd be at 70 miles per hour with no brakes." "Are you certain this was deliberate?" 100%. "I've documented everything with photos. The tools were professional, and the technique shows advanced knowledge." Edward leaned forward. "Tom, this is Edward Reynolds, Seth's attorney. Would you provide expert testimony?" "Absolutely. I've preserved the evidence and prepared a report. This sabotage required specific automotive knowledge or access to professionals. Helen's lifestyle suggested she had such connections." "There's more," Tom continued. "The steering was also compromised. Even if the brakes worked, the car would have become unstable." Edward took notes. "We can use this for criminal attempted murder charges." "She killed my son and tried to kill me," I said flatly. "Now she pays for both." Tom's expertise was the final piece. With Martin's warning and Helen's reaction, we had a complete case. "I'll contact the Cook County District Attorney immediately," Edward said, reaching for his phone. "Between the inheritance fraud and attempted murder evidence, Helen Jordan will face serious charges." The afternoon sun shone through the windows. Martin's foresight had saved my life and preserved his legacy. Helen's greed had met its match. Justice was now an imminent reality. The next morning brought clarity. With the inheritance secure, I could focus on ensuring Helen faced consequences. My home office became a war room. Edward recommended Marcus Chen, a private investigator with 20 years in financial crimes. We met at a coffee shop, his face showing the skepticism of someone who'd seen too much greed. "Mrs. Jordan has substantial credit card debt," Marcus reported 3 days later, sliding a folder across my table. $200,000 in the last 18 months. Luxury purchases, expensive dining, designer clothes, all while her husband was dying. The records were damning. Helen had lived beyond her means, confident Martin's death would solve her problems. Dr. Sarah Williams, a medical expert, arrived on the 4th day with her analysis. Her expression was grim as she spread lab reports. "The symptom progression strongly suggests arsenic poisoning," she said, her voice authoritative. "The timeline is textbook. Gradual accumulation followed by rapid organ failure." Each piece of evidence was another nail in Helen's coffin. The most satisfying discovery came from canvassing the neighborhood's security systems. Mrs. Patterson, 3 houses down, had a high-definition camera that captured the whole street. The footage was clear. Helen's BMW arriving at 11:47 p.m., her figure moving toward my garage, tools glinting in the light. Camera 3 shows her clearly working under your hood, the security technician confirmed. freezing the frame. Timestamp is exact, and the resolution leaves no doubt. By the 5th day, I had an overwhelming case. Financial motive, means opportunity, and expert testimony all pointed to her guilt in both murders. Tom's analysis was the crown jewel. I sat in my study that evening, surrounded by evidence of Helen's desperation. My phone buzzed with a text from Edward. District Attorney wants to meet tomorrow. Bring everything. The legal machinery was moving. Helen had calculated everything except a father's determination to get justice for his son. Martin's warning had saved me and exposed his killer. Now it was time to make her pay. I gathered the files into my briefcase, preparing for Helen's last day of freedom. Her house was in an affluent suburb, its manicured lawn and circular driveway showcasing the lifestyle she'd been desperate to keep. 2 luxury cars gleamed in the sun. I parked across the street and walked to her door, carrying the envelope that would end her freedom. The court documents felt heavy: arrest warrants, civil lawsuit papers, an evidence summary of her criminal conspiracy. Helen answered in an expensive silk robe, her hair perfect. When she saw me, the color drained from her face. "What do you want?" Her voice trembled. "Official court summons for attempted murder," I said, handing her the envelope. "Also included are civil suits for inheritance fraud and emotional distress." She stared at the papers. "You can't prove anything. This is harassment. Video from 3 security cameras showing you sabotaging my car. Technical analysis from an expert. Medical testimony of arsenic poisoning. Financial records showing your $200,000 debt." Each fact hit her like a blow. Helen clutched the doorframe. "The district attorney has accepted the case," I continued calmly. "Trial is next month. I thought you deserved personal notice. I'll destroy you in court." She stepped forward, but her slippers made it pathetic. "You'll never prove I hurt Martin. Dr. Williams will testify about arsenic. Marcus Chen will present your finances. Tom Riley will explain the sabotage. The evidence is clear." Helen's eyes darted around, checking if neighbors were watching. The sun highlighted her panic. "You think you've won?" she nearly shrieked. "I'll appeal. I'll tie this up for years." "You already destroyed yourself, Helen. This makes it official." She clutched the papers to her chest like armor, but we both knew the truth. Her world was collapsing. "Martin warned me about you," I said quietly. "I should have listened sooner." Helen slammed the door hard. Through the window, I saw her sink to the marble floor, still holding the papers that would send her to prison. I walked back to my car, feeling Martin's presence like a hand on my shoulder. Justice was no longer a hope, it was inevitable. 3 weeks later, Judge Patricia Morrison's verdict echoed in the packed courtroom. "Helen Jordan, you are hereby sentenced to 15 years imprisonment without parole for attempted murder and inheritance fraud." The gavel's strike ended Helen's freedom and began justice for Martin. I stood as reporters surged forward. "Justice has prevailed," I told the media outside. "My son can finally rest in peace, knowing his killer is accountable." Helen's conviction made headlines. The wealthy widow who poisoned her husband and tried to kill her father-in-law became a cautionary tale. She would spend the next decade and a half in prison, her luxury life replaced by uniforms and institutional meals. But my real satisfaction came from transforming Martin's legacy. The Martin Jordan Cancer Research Foundation, launched 6 months later, funded entirely by the inheritance Helen had killed for. Your $40 million donation will fund breakthrough research for decades. Dr. Elizabeth Hart announced at the groundbreaking. "Lives will be saved because of your son's vision and your generosity." Standing before researchers and leaders, I felt Martin's presence strongly. His spirit would live on through the foundation's work. I downsized to a modest home near the lake, keeping only what brought happiness. The rest went to travel and charity, visiting cancer facilities, meeting families, ensuring Martin's money created hope, not destruction. Garrett still checked on me. Our friendship deepened by shared vigilance. Tom became a trusted ally. Edward handled the foundation's legal affairs. We'd built something lasting from tragedy. 1 year after the trial, I visited Martin's grave with news of the foundation's first breakthrough, a promising treatment that might save hundreds. "Son, I kept my promise," I whispered. "Your killer faced justice, and your legacy helps others fight the battle you lost. From tragedy came purpose, from loss, hope. Helen's attempt to destroy us had instead created something beautiful, a testament to love over greed, justice over evil, and a father's determination to honor his son. The inheritance she'd killed for now funded research that might have saved Martin. In the end, that was the perfect justice. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching. Break breath.